Today on The Point TV.
And so therefore, how can we, if we're not truthful to ourselves, how can we then be truthful with others around us, especially with our families or our loved ones?
The cosmetic industry, they'll go out and they will load their products with cheap filler ingredients, and many of these are both harmful and toxic.
What we don't realise is our customers really don't give a shit about us.
And in fact, even the back of my thighs had deformed to the shape of my chair. So when I stood up, I had a ridge there in the fat in the back of my legs.
All this and more on The Point TV.
Describing himself as a hairy woman whilst experiencing severe depression, Lee Brownless has made it his mission to re-establish today's blurred lines surrounding manhood. Determined to turn around his life, Lee went on a journey of self-discovery to reclaim what he was born to be, a man. Through his business, Grab Your Manhood, Lee helps men who are stuck in anger or rage and those who experience helplessness or a loss of purpose. To him, a man in his manhood respects woman as the goddess they are, and one who can follow his natural instinct to lead. A true man is vulnerable and self-accepting, responsible for their actions, leaving blame, shame, guilt and self-judgment behind. Lee's vision is to create a true brotherhood of masculine men. Welcome, Lee. It's a pleasure to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you.
You're called a manhood coach. You coach men across Australia of all ages and at different stages of their life. I'm intrigued. What is Grab Your Manhood?
Well, Grab Your Manhood is a program that I developed to really help men to design their purpose and reclaim a direction in their life that they possibly may have lost, to be able to live from that space, that they can sort of like really have fun and adventure and live life to its fullest.
Okay, so what does that actually mean? Well,
what that means is that I teach men to literally, metaphorically grab hold of their manhood from an internal space, looking inside themselves, to living from a space of truth and honesty. There's so many lies that go on in the world, and we're just not truthful to ourselves, you know. And so therefore, how can we, if we're not truthful to ourselves, how can we then be truthful with others around us, especially with our families or our loved ones?
So what do you think prevents a man from grabbing his manhood?
Well, fundamentally, I believe that there are three key problems that prevent men from grabbing their manhood, and I call them the parasitical P's, which is number one, lack of purpose, number two, loss of passion, and number three, limp progress. Now, these parasites they wriggle and writhe their way into our minds and into our bodies, and what they really do, they destroy us as men. They destroy our masculinity, if you like. And it's not just not men that it destroys. It destroys boys, it destroys brothers, fathers, husbands, sons. So it's a really, almost like an epidemic level of a fearful state that we actually live in.
So this is really about men fulfilling their life.
Yeah, for us to actually be fulfilled, we have to have a purpose. We have to have some sort of direction. We have to have a passion. If we don't have any of those things, how can we progress and grow? We just don't. We stay stagnant. And anything that stays stagnant dies. And so therefore, it's really about, if we can oppose those three parasites, it's really then about helping men to find their purpose, to find a passion to live by, and then to grow. And that's what fundamentally that I teach men to have and become.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know what their passion is. You know, what makes you an expert in this area?
Well, I lived with depression for 10 years, a whole decade of my life. And I lived with anxiety. I lived with the fears that came around because these parasites was in me. I was living with these, lack of passion, well, no passion, like no purpose, no direction. And so therefore, I wasn't growing. So I was dying inside. And fundamentally, for that growth to happen, for us to grow as men, we really need to challenge ourselves and have that purpose and direction. Otherwise, our lives become meaningless. We lose the importance of life. So you
had to make a decision about something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really did come down to making new decisions. Because if we decide to stay where we are, we're dead. And so therefore I did make a new decision.
So how did you do that?
Well, that new decision was literally like my wife said to me, Lee, just decide something. And I decided that I wanted to follow a dream and I wanted to follow a passion. And so I sold my home in Perth. I moved my wife and my 7 children all the way over here to Queensland, and I started following my passion and I started following my dream.
That's bigger than a mountain.
Yeah, it is. God. Most definitely.
So can you give me an example of one of your clients that had to make a decision and take some action?
Yeah, there was one particular gentleman that I have in mind that was stuck with grief for 15 years. His daughter was killed in an accident, and for those 15 years he was just stuck. He had no place to go. He had no purpose, no passion, no progress in his life. And he was seeing psychologists and counsellors, and he came to see me, and I spent an hour and a half with this man. And because I'd gone through that myself, I was able to really connect with him on a much deeper level. And I was able to share with him the tools and strategies that I used to be able to get out of that similar place. And fundamentally what happened was that during that next week, he came back, and my wife answered the phone, and answered the door, and it was just like, she didn't even recognize the man. She was just like, yes, how can I help you? And I saw him at the door, and I was just like, wow, what an incredible difference.
That's amazing.
You see, when we have an emotional turmoil going inside of us, and we don't know how to deal with it, it shows up physically. And it shows up in the way that we talk, in the way that we walk, in the way that we smile, in the way that we behave. And that's a really important point to understand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's an amazing story. So you're so open about telling your own life experience, which has evolved into being passionate and caring and supportive of your brothers. Your generosity and compassion reflects on a better life for all of us. And it's not only for men, it's for women around the world as well. So Lee, I'd like to close this evening and ask you to share your strongest, most powerful piece of advice for the viewers.
Well, I would like to ask you a question. What did you do today that was different from yesterday? Because for a change to happen in your life, you have to do something different. And I encourage you to start doing something different. So if you've ever had the parasites in your life, then please give me a call.
Thank you. Lee Brownless from Grab Your Manhood, and it's Glenda from Point TV. Thank you tonight.
Welcome to the Point TV. There's been a significant climb in the prevalence of major depression among adolescents, and it's on the rise with teen girls most at risk. Joining us this evening is Jennifer Hines, founder and formulator of NAS Cosmetics, natural, Australian and safe makeup. An authority in this industry, Jennifer wants to share with us the role this industry plays in our teen depression epidemic, and will tell us what other makeup companies simply will not. I must ask, how many of you have bathroom cupboards full of makeup that you just don't use? And is that because it underperforms and does not live up to its promises? Well, this unique Gold Coast company is shaking up the industry with its motto of Know Your Ingredients. Please put your hands together as we welcome Jennifer Hines. So, welcome Jennifer. You radiate such a beautiful, authentic and transparent energy around this subject. Please tell us and share with us what made you get into this industry.
I was using a very well-known brand of makeup, and it was making me sick. As a woman and as a mother, I wanted to prevent others from this by helping them to become a more conscious consumer.
And I understand that you were paying upwards of $90 for this particular product. Is that actually true?
It is. Please don't judge me for that one. Look, my rationale as an uninformed consumer at that point was that if I was paying $90, then I must be buying the best. However, just because I was paying an expensive price didn't mean it was the best. Far from it. In fact, I now know that that product that was $90 was coming direct from China.
But it's easy to, isn't it, to get caught up in the whole marketing and advertising campaign. As consumers, we get sucked in a little bit. Is that true?
I was definitely sucked in. That particular brand was advertised as being the one they used for film and television, and they had that flawless look, and I was just so willing to pay for that flawless look. Advertising is just critical. In fact, it was only the other week that there was a major skincare company that was forced to remove the words natural and organic from its advertising, from its labels, because it simply wasn't. And this company had been promoting that for years. They'd built a huge customer base. It's just such a perfect example of the way the industry is all about bottom dollar and not the consumer, and it needs to change.
On a really important note, I'd love to hear more about the fact that you are in discussions with the secondary education system. Next year you're going to be going in there educating our teenage daughters about makeup. Please, what's the drive behind that?
This is such an important issue. I have, my family's a blended one. I have 2 sons and I have a stepdaughter with the most beautiful soul, and I was with her throughout those years when she was transforming from a child into an adolescent. And the cosmetic industry just plays such a huge role in our rising epidemic of teenage depression. It's at that age that they've just hit high school. They have hormones happening. Girls have just realised that the boys exist, and now they're reading the teenage magazines. Appearance is critical for them, and the stress is something they've never encountered normally in their past. So they tend to have pimples begin to emerge, and they want them covered. So they go out and they will purchase nasty chemical-based products to cover up these blemishes.
So you're suggesting then that these cheap, nasty, chemical-based products are contributing to the decline in their mental well-being and health?
Oh, absolutely. The cosmetic industry, they'll go out and they will load their products with cheap filler ingredients, and many of these are both harmful and toxic, and our kids are smothering their skin in these products. Their skin can't breathe, it can't heal, it can't function. Essentially they're suffocating their skin, and the pimples then turn into acne. So it's generally at this point that they will they become withdrawn, and their self-esteem plummets.
But correct me if I'm wrong, is it not true that by law companies are obliged to label their products accordingly with the ingredients in the packaging and on the actual product itself?
Absolutely, but who knows what those ingredients really are? At the end of the day, this industry is failing to inform its consumers on the side effects of the ingredients that they're using in their products. And if they did, this just wouldn't be the billion-dollar industry that it is today. So, yeah.
Can you tell our viewers this evening here, just give them 2 products, 2 ingredients, should I say, in the products to avoid, and the reasons why?
I would say talc, and I would also say bismuth oxychloride. Now, the talc can actually be contaminated with asbestos fibres, which can cause respiratory toxicity and cancer. And even if it is void of those fibres, it's still a form of magnesium silicate, which is also a carcinogenic. The bismuth oxychloride that has side effects such as itching, rashes, skin irritation, severe dryness, blemishes which can then turn into cystic acne because their pores are actually being blocked.
Well, as a parent myself, this whole issue really does concern me, but I have to say I feel that we're extremely fortunate to have someone like yourself who has done some research on our behalf. So I'd really ask you, how is NAS Cosmetics contributing to creating a more conscious consumer in this area?
Information, the truth. People need the truth, and it's through education that we're inspiring a thought-provoking, conscious awareness within women around the globe. And what will come with that is there'll be a strength that rises from women to demand safe products. And I believe that that will make the industry, it will force it to have to change in a positive direction. And I think we really need to start with our youth with that.
So this evening, how could women here tonight make changes?
I'd recommend they go and have a look what's in their bathroom. Anything that is a liquid, a cream-based product, a mousse, a compact, and they've had it for more than 12 months, throw it out. It's out of date. And then when they do want to purchase new products, then they need to ask themselves exactly what it is that they want their products to do. For example, do they want it to not sit and finalise? Do they want really good coverage? Is sunscreen an important thing? Vegan, cruelty-free? Do they want the products to remain on all day so they don't have to reapply them? Know what you want and don't waver from that.
Well, you've certainly held my attention, Jennifer. It really is quite a serious issue. But if there was one final piece of information or advice you'd like to give to our audience, what would that be?
I would have to say, don't wait until you're sick. Mums, know what your daughters are using on their skin. Let us educate you so that you can make more informed decisions for your family as a whole. Know your ingredients.
Well, Jennifer, it's been a real pleasure having you here this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. And to you, the viewers at home, thank you so much for watching The Point TV. I know I'm certainly going home to check on my bathroom cupboard. So thank you so much. Good night.
Hi, I'm Stuart Fleming and welcome to Point TV. Marketing is seen by many business owners as voodoo or black magic. So to finally answer some of the biggest marketing questions, I tracked down a real marketing expert, and I promise no chickens will be harmed in the making of this interview. Leanne Cohens is the founder of the marketing agency Marketing Leap. Her background in business includes fitness, beauty, import, retail and corporate. She's a professional member of the Marketing Association of Australia and New Zealand, a certified Google partner, and holds a bachelor's in business and diplomas in market research and social media. So basically, she is a real marketing expert, and her passion is creating a strong brands, powerful messaging, and customer engagement for small business. So tonight, she's going to share her wisdom and shed light on our darkest marketing questions. Please welcome my guest, Leanne Cohens. Hi Leanne, thank you for joining me. Now, talk to me about marketing and why it's so hard.
You've got to remember, marketing is actually a means to an end. It's not the end goal. Basically, people go into business to make money, or because they have a passion for something and they want to make money from it. So essentially, in actual fact, it's more the freedom that money gives them rather than money for the sake of money. But to make money, you need sales. To make sales, you need qualified leads that are going to convert to sales. To get qualified leads, you need marketing.
Right, so marketing's the base of getting my yacht.
Essentially.
Cool.
Really. Not only that, marketing is made up traditionally of 4 main P's, which is your price, your product, your placement, and your promotion. Now, I believe that there is a 5th P, which is perception. So as a business, what you are doing is actually filling a need and creating the perception that your customer can't do what they need to do without you. So you're adding value and you're adding a service to them. And there's also creating that perception of a need for them.
So that's the 5th P. Sounds like a good name for a book. Okay, so that's what marketing is. But why do we find it so hard?
Because everything has changed so much. We're online all the time. And not only that, it's just, there is no yellow pages anymore. So everything we do is online. And a lot of people can't keep up with the constant changes that are going on. And we become so involved with our product and our business and what we have to offer. What we don't realise is our customers really don't give a shit about us. So,
hang on, they do care about me.
Okay. Well, they might care about you, but generally, they don't care what you have to offer. What they want to know is what's in it for them. What can you do for me? What can you do that's going to make my life better? So that's what makes it so hard. People don't realise that where their ideal customers are, and then with the constant change with everything online, it does make it really difficult.
Okay, so obviously online is quite important, but why?
When was the last time you saw Yellow Pages?
I actually went looking for one, I couldn't find one.
Well, there you go. So everything is online.
Yeah.
You know, just Google it has actually become part of our vernacular now.
Yeah.
You just don't think about it. So if you're a business and you're online, you have to have a website.
Okay.
To have a website and to be found on Google, you have to have SEO, which is basically a fancy term for getting found on Google.
Right, okay.
So your website has to be optimized a certain way so that you can be found, and that's done through SEO. On top of that, you don't have that face-to-face interaction anymore. So you've actually got to go out there and prove that you're an authority. The only way you're going to do that is by writing content and writing blogs and telling people what you know. And then you don't have that relationship, so you've got your email marketing and your newsletters. And that's not even touching on the great big monolith that is social media.
Okay. I guess that's why it's so hard. I'm kind of exhausted already. So what I'm sensing here is that this is just a massive overwhelm. How do we deal with this overwhelm of what is it that we actually have to do?
Okay. We get back to the whole reason of people being in business. You're in business because you have a passion for what you do.
Yep.
And on top of that, if you can make some money out of it, great. So the first key is really going back and finding out who your target is, who your ideal customer is. And you know, with the changes, you have all these fancy names all the time. Use your avatar, your niche market, your ideal client.
Oh, okay. I've heard of those, yeah.
Right. So once you know who they are, then you can actually adjust your message to fix whatever the perceived, fifth P,
yep,
whatever the perceived need is that you can solve for them.
All right, so thinking now in terms of the audience, is there something that we can do as like one step that you could give or one tip that you could give to make us better marketers? What is the thing we should be doing first and foremost?
First and foremost, know your customer. Like I said in the beginning, really you're in business for the freedom that money brings. You've got to have actual qualified leads. You know, there's so many customers out there that are actually buying leads today. I have one customer who half of their marketing budget actually went on buying leads. When we sat down and actually targeted who their market was and targeted who their customer was and really honed in on their message, we actually found that for every self-generated lead, so every lead that they had bought in through their own website, converted 93% of the time.
Whoa.
So knowing who you're talking to and getting your message right is just so important.
So did they use the leads that they'd bought? That they'd actually purchased in? Did they use those? And if so, what did they convert at?
At the time, those 20%.
Whoa.
So, and that's the thing, because they're not qualified. So, and again, you're in business because you want time freedom, or you want whatever it is, your yacht that money can bring you.
Of course, yes.
So, and that's the time freedom that you're looking for.
Yeah.
You don't have time to burn through 300 leads that you've paid for. You know, why would you waste the time? Get your message right, know who your customer is. Actually tell them what you can do for them, tell them what's in it for them and how you can add value to their lives. That is what's going to make you a better marketer as a small business.
That's some great advice. So it sounds like from what you were saying, with all the different options, once we know who it is that we're going to target, then there's how do we get the message out and what's the platforms that we use, and you said avatar. So once we know that, what do we do with that? I guess the next step for the audience is, how do we then find you? If you help us know what to do, how do we find you?
I'm a marketer. I'm online. So if you're ready to take the marketing leap, look for me online. Marketing leap, I'm on website, Facebook, Pinterest. It's all there. Fantastic. I wouldn't expect anything less from a marketer. Thank you very much, Leanne, for joining us, and check us out next time on Point TV. Thank you.
My guest tonight is a big-hearted high achiever. She believes in putting people before profits and is one of those people who just gets in and does what needs to be done. This has led her to not just one, but actually 3 experiences of burnout. She spent 17 years in the Middle East in HR and organisational development. She's been trailblazing a path in holistic success, is a TEDx speaker, 3 times best-selling author, raw foods teacher, and detox advisor. She has a vision to reach 1 million people and to see the end of death by desk. Having aroused your curiosity, it's now my privilege to introduce Nicole Van Hattem. Nicole, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think the audience is curious, and so am I. You shared with me that you were actually on a mission to end the epidemic of death by desk. You said you wanted to do that through inspiring conversations that change the way we actually live at work. You also confessed to me that even though you've actually been a very high achiever, you had become fat, sick, and successful. How did all that come to be?
Well, like many people who are watching this video, I spent incredibly long hours sitting behind my desk, achieving incredible results for the organisation, enjoying the process, but at a high cost that I wasn't aware of. Slowly over time, my body began to call out and try and get my attention, which I promptly ignored. However, over time, it became pretty obvious by just simply looking at the outside of me that there was something going on underneath the surface that was setting me up for failure. However, I believed that we were all doing it. I didn't see anything unusual with what I was doing. And the statistics that I understood later were that a man that sits for more than 6 hours a day is 40% more likely to die of a lifestyle-related disease than a man that does not. And the statistics for women are 90%. So it's quite incredible. If you are sitting behind your desk, you could literally be dying.
When you were sharing with me earlier about that workplace, you know, where pretty magnificent things were rolling out, you said everyone was doing it, and that included your boss.
My boss, Charles, was an incredible man, had a big heart, put absolutely everything into his work and really took care of his people. He was an incredible role model for me and a really close friend. However, the choices that he and I were both making, the way we were living our lives at work behind the desk, resulted in my ill health, and it killed him. And he was 49.
So, you've been painting for me before we came on the show tonight, this image of incredible success that was like all the trappings were actually there. But you said to me, you know, there were actually a few cracks. So what was underneath those cracks?
Honestly, I was really scared that despite all the way it looked on the outside, that somebody would discover that I was a success fraud. I was too afraid to ask for help, too afraid to show my vulnerability, and as a result, I suffered a lot longer than I needed to. Eventually, I woke up to the fact that the only person who could save me was me. And I went on a detox retreat, and I went on several detox retreats to learn what I needed to learn. But what I want people to understand is that you have to begin to listen to those little signs that you are deteriorating, that something isn't quite working.
For you, some of those signs weren't just little, though, were they?
No,
there were big signs. Your body was giving you big messages.
I had bleeding gums, emotional disorder, anxiety attacks, heart palpitations, bloating, gas, diarrhea and constipation all at the same time, food addictions, alcohol addictions. It was quite an incredibly long list, and I just put it down to, oh, I'm tired, I'm a bit stressed. I went to the doctors, and the doctors said, oh, that's interesting. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just normal signs of ageing. And I was 38.
So what happened when you actually stopped and started listening to your body?
I was a bit shocked at what it was telling me, and I tried to run away from it for a while. But when I did give it what it needed, which was took personal responsibility for nourishing it, giving it love, giving it time, breathing, getting out from behind the desk, stopping deforming myself in the way that I was living myself at work behind that desk. And I lost 17 kilos of fat. I slept better, I had mental clarity, I actually looked younger, and I performed better for longer with less effort.
I've been amused a couple of times when we've been talking. You've referred to the deformation or deformation of man, and that's a pretty controversial statement. So, you know, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that the more time we sit behind our desk, so I gave statistics before, I was sitting 16 hours a day, not just behind my desk at work, but when I ate, when I commuted to and from work and at the workplace. And during that process, my range of motion was very limited. I was operating within a small range of motion. And what happens over time is that your body begins to adapt to that environment. So if you don't use it, you really do lose it. So you end up spending all this time behind a computer, on these screens, doing this very limited range of motion. And in fact, even the back of my thighs had deformed to the shape of my chair. So when I stood up, I had a ridge there in the fat in the back of my legs. So literally I was compressing the tissue so much that even when I stood up, moved around, it couldn't rebound. I was deforming myself. And literally, we are deforming ourselves with this limited, constricted life in a box, in a desk, behind a computer.
Nicole, I want to honour you for the learning that you've had along this pathway back to health and re-evaluating how you will live in your life. And for me, it's a conversation a lot of people are really afraid to have. So I think that's one thing that you're going to give the listening audience, that courage to look at ourselves. And you're calling people to be responsible, but also response-able, giving the notion that, you know, they can achieve and move past the difficulties. None of us are losers, but I'm really aware in this moment, a lot of humanity is moving through difficult times. As we go to the close, what is one last thing you would like to say to the audience?
I would like to invite the audience to stand up for your right not to sit down.
Will the audience please stand? Thank you all for being a stand for the Point TV.